Uber was banned. Uber was sued. Uber was called illegal. Taxi unions hated it. Governments tried to shut it down. And yet today, Uber operates in over 70 countries and is worth tens of billions of dollars. So the big question is, how did a company that seemingly broke all the rules end up rewriting them for an entire industry? This isn't just another startup story. This is a masterclass in controlled chaos, a lesson in how to build an empire by first starting a war. Let's rewind to part 1, the problem. Before Uber, think about what it was like to get a taxi. It was a total nightmare, right? You'd stand on a street corner, waving your arm, hoping a car would show up. There was no price transparency, no fixed rates, and absolutely no guarantee you'd even find one. In 2009, two friends, Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp, found themselves stuck in Paris, facing this exact problem. But they didn't just want to fix the taxi system, they wanted to destroy it. From its very inception, Uber wasn't designed to cooperate with the old guard. It was built to replace them entirely. This leads us straight into part 2, the controversy. From day one, Uber's entire business model was a direct challenge to the law. They operated without traditional taxi licenses, without government approval, and without regulatory permission. It just launched. And cities reacted fast. Uber was banned in Germany. It was banned in Spain. Taxi drivers staged massive protests in London, blocking streets and bringing the city to a standstill. In the United States, Uber was hit with lawsuit after lawsuit. In some places, taxi drivers literally set cars on fire. Governments threatened jail time. Courts demanded they shut down. But Uber didn't back down. They didn't apologize. They accelerated. So how did they survive? This brings us to part 3, the shocking secret that changed everything. Uber followed a dangerous but brilliant rule. Grow faster than the law. Instead of asking for permission, which they knew they'd never get, Uber launched in cities with overwhelming force. They focused on creating addiction first and dealt with negotiations later. They offered incredibly cheap rides to get passengers hooked. They provided a super easy way for everyday people to earn income as drivers. The convenience was unmatched. Once a city's population came to depend on Uber for their daily commutes and their livelihoods, the dynamic shifted. Governments were no longer fighting a corporation. They were facing immense pressure from their own citizens. Uber didn't have to fight the government directly. They brilliantly turned the people into their shield, but it gets even darker. Let's talk about part 4, the strategy very few people know about. Internally, Uber deployed a secret tool called Greyball. This was a piece of software designed to deceive the authorities. If a city official or a regulator tried to book an Uber to catch and fine a driver, the Greyball system would identify them. Instead of showing them real cars nearby, the app would display a fake map of ghost cars that didn't exist. Or it would just cancel the ride. Yes, you heard that right. Uber actively hid its drivers and operations from law enforcement. Was it unethical? Absolutely. Was it effective? Without a doubt. Uber wasn't just playing business. They were playing a game of cat and mouse, and they were determined to win at all costs. Now, you might be wondering, with all this chaos, how did Uber actually make money? That's part 5. The genius of Uber's model is that they didn't own any cars. They didn't hire any drivers in the traditional sense. They were a middleman, a technology platform that connected a driver with a rider. And for providing that connection, Uber took a commission of 20 to 30% on every single ride. Think about that. They had virtually zero inventory and incredibly low operating costs compared to a traditional taxi company. This allowed for infinite scalability. They weren't a taxi company. They were a software company that controlled the supply and demand of transportation. Of course, this aggressive approach couldn't last forever. That brings us to part 6, the turning point. The controversies just kept piling up. The company was accused of having a toxic work culture, and the Greyball scandal became public. The pressure became so intense that the leadership team collapsed. The face of the company, co-founder and CEO Travis Kalanick, was forced out. After his departure, Uber embarked on a massive effort to clean up its image. It started playing by the rules, working with regulators, and rebranding itself as a more responsible corporate citizen. But by then, the war was already over. The damage to their competitors was done. The traditional taxi industries in city after city had been decimated. They never recovered. Uber had already won. So what is the real business lesson here? This is part 7. The story of Uber teaches one brutal lesson. If you disrupt an industry deeply enough, resistance eventually becomes irrelevant. Uber didn't win because they were the most ethical company. They won because they were the most relentless. They were faster, more aggressive, and more willing to break the rules than anyone else. They didn't ask to join the system, and they forced the system to rebuild itself around them. So next time you open your phone and book an Uber, take a second to remember what you're really using. You're not just using a simple taxi app. You are participating in the result of years of strategic rule breaking, massive controversy, and absolutely fearless execution. It's a testament to a company that saw a broken system and decided that the only way to fix it was to burn it to the ground and build something new in its place. And this all raises a very interesting question. Which billion-dollar company should we expose next? Because behind every massive empire, there's always a secret they don't want you to see. Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.